Hey everybody, Aaron Bishop here with another Bishop's Blurb. We happen to be in the middle of the Festival of Unleavened Bread, also known as the Festival of Matzah. And in Leviticus 23 and elsewhere, we read that the last day of unleavened bread is to be a day without work and a holy convocation. Now we know what the first day of unleavened bread celebrates. It's the morning of the Exodus from Egypt after the final plague killed the firstborn. But what does the last day of unleavened bread celebrate? This is a question that many people who begin celebrating the holidays begin to ask themselves. Well, in the book of Exodus, if we follow along with the journey of Israel and we do some counting, we arrive at a singular event. 3 stops after the escape from Exodus, Israel crosses the Red Sea. Then 3 days after that, Israel's out of water in the wilderness, and the first water crisis of the wilderness occurs. In this story, at the end of Exodus chapter 15, Israel finds some stagnant and disgusting water that's undrinkable. Moses then throws in some sort of stick or wood in the water and cleanses it, and the people are able to drink. But the next day, the 7th stop from Egypt, Israel arrives at an oasis of 70 palm trees and 12 springs of water. This is a significant event in the history of Israel as it demonstrates God's provision in times of lack. But this event also speaks of the 12 tribes of Israel bringing fresh water to the 70 nations to give them life. But this isn't the only event to occur on the last day of Matzah. Let's skip forward a few books out of the Torah and go to the book of Joshua. In Joshua chapter 5, we read that Israel celebrated Passover on the 14th of the first month of the Hebrew calendar. Now, while there is no timing described in the following chapter, we can safely assume that Israel started marching around Jericho the very next day, since timing has been given for every event up to that point in the book. If this is the case, then for the 6 days of unleavened bread, Israel marched around the city of Jericho once per day. It was on the 7th day that Israel marched around the city 7 times, and the walls of Jericho fell down, and the conquest of Canaan began in earnest. The first victory in Canaan, the miraculous destruction of the defenses of Jericho, occurred on the last day of the Festival of Unleavened Bread. Now, in these 2 stories, we're given 2 data points that can help us to better understand why the last day of Matzah is important. In the first event, in Exodus 15, Israel is going without for the first time since their escape in Egypt. Their faith in God is being put to the test as they're forced to rely on His direction for their continued sustenance. And in the Battle of Jericho, on the last day, once again, Israel is being put to the test. They're forced to rely on God's power to defeat this enemy that was hidden safely behind impenetrable walls. In both cases, Israel was forced to rely on God when they were not able to do something on their own, and in both cases, God provided for them in an incredible way. And this insight into the conclusion of the Festival of Matzah, it can teach us about the holiday itself. The festival is characterized by 7 days of self-denial in one small area of our diets. The final day then recognizes that God does continue to provide and work in the lives of His people, even when we face lack. With this, the entire holiday becomes about learning to trust and rely on God. When you're forced to go without, when you're asked to do something impossible, do you trust God to provide? Or will you grumble and complain that He hasn't given enough?